Hello, everybody. My name is Dratnos, and today we have a timely video, hopefully, about tier sets and my theories about how trading of these should work, how it's likely to work, and I want to kind of give arguments in as good faith as I can on all the sides about what different ways tier could work. So, for those who missed it, here is the new post from Blizzard about how tier is going to work. The TLDR is it's going to be tokenized, which, if it works like tier tokens used to work, that means that tier pieces will drop from specific bosses. And they've said here at the same ratio as before, although at a lower rate than on PTR. So bosses that can drop tier will drop on Mythic difficulty 2 regular items and 2 tier items. And then on other difficulties, that'll scale with the number of people in the raid, I guess. And they will be like protectors, conquerors, vanquishers were the old ones, and these are groups of classes that they can drop for, and then can be turned in for tier pieces. And it would be like protector's shoulders, right? And so you could get your shoulder piece if you were one of the classes on the protector token, if you got your hands on that tier piece token. So that is obviously still up for confirmation whether it'll work like that again, whether it'll be the same tier classes on the same tokens as it was last time we had tier, or if there's change up to that in some way. But the big question is, how will trading of tier tokens work? And trading, both what you like and what you don't, is something they want to hear a lot about. So I figured I would make this video to talk about what the different cases are about how trading could be. So first off, they could just do trading of tier tokens like how they handle personal loot with all other items, right? So if you have 252 shoulders and you drop 252 tier, you could trade it. And then if you didn't have 252 shoulders, you couldn't. This would create a little bit of a weird feeling, right? Because tier is a big upgrade over non-tier. So it stands to reason that they would probably want to add some restrictions to make it so that you couldn't trade tier unless you already had tier. But that's not guaranteed, right? They might just make it item level based, like regular personal loot, and just have it be, in the slots like anything else. In which case, there would be some incentive to use, particularly the fact that normal Sepulcher is item level 252. There'd be some incentive for guilds to use characters that were geared up at Mythic from last tier to help trade tier to their mains this tier. It wouldn't be that huge of an incentive, but it certainly would be something. And it would also create a bit of a system where, you dropped heroic shoulders that weren't tier, and you'd be like, damn it, now I'm going to have to trade my heroic tier when it drops, right? Because that now it's eligible to be traded, which would potentially be something that would feel kind of bad if that were to happen. Okay, other ways this could work. They could make it so that tier was only tradable if you already had tier of that item level or higher. That would be kind of just putting it into its own thing, right? So I can only trade tier shoulders if I already have tier shoulders and they're already of that item level or higher. This would mean, first off, there wouldn't be a huge incentive to run split runs to funnel gear to mains. You could do it, but it would require several weeks, and the ratio would be quite bad, because in order to get value out of doing that, you would need an alt to drop tier in a slot twice before it could trade that second one to a main. There would be some value associated with doing that, but it wouldn't be much for normie guilds. Race World First guilds would probably go in a different flavor of degeneracy if that was allowed, where what they would do is they would run 8 splits, 10 splits on week 1, where each person plays 10 copies of their main class, and whichever one gets the most tier is their main going into week 2, which would be kind of degenerate, but, Race to World First, whatever situation you choose, Race to World First is going to be doing something degenerate on week 1, so I wouldn't try and think about stopping that. It's just interesting to think about how they're going to be degenerate with each of these different systems. It would be a little bit weird, though. An interesting question is, if I drop 252 tier shoulders, and then I drop 265 tier shoulders, should I be allowed to trade those 265 tier shoulders? My answer is I would like to be able to, right? If I already have normal tier shoulders, I'd like to be able to trade heroic tier shoulders because they're, a smallish upgrade for me, right? A couple hundred DPS maybe, less than that perhaps, just for the item levels on the piece. But for somebody who doesn't have tier, if that's making them 2-piece, if that's making them 4-piece, if that's contributing to that, that item could potentially represent 1,000 DPS, something huge like that. So that trade would be nice if it was allowed, but it would represent a new rule that doesn't currently exist with how gear is tradable, right? To be able to trade higher item level than you already own. The other question as well is, what if I have shoulders, pants, chest piece, and helmet, right? And then gloves drop for me. So I already have 4-piece, and that 5th piece of tier drops for me. Could the system be designed? I think it would be good if the system was designed in such a way that you could then trade that tier piece, but that's the kind of thing where I imagine that's like an engineering hurdle for Blizzard to set that up. I think it would be really cool if they could figure it out, so that I could trade, a piece that I don't have tier yet if I already have 4-piece. But I suspect that's something that won't be possible. So another interesting case there. That one isn't an issue if tier is just fully tradable, but it is an issue if you add restrictions to how you can trade tier. The problem I have, the reason I don't think they should just make tier fully tradable is, consider just an average mythic guild, right? A mythic guild maybe a guild that gets cutting edge several months into the patch, right? That guild runs one run and they play most of their players that, they have a 22-person roster or something, a little bit of flexibility. Imagine being that guild, and then if tier is fully tradable, what do? One option is you force all of the people who have relatively weak tier sets to trade all of their tier tokens to the people in their token type that have relatively strong tier sets. Now, for a lot of guilds, like mine, that would be just, we would do that, and people wouldn't complain, or if they did complain, we'd make fun of them, and they'd get over it, and nobody in my guild really cares about loot. But a lot of people in this game really do care about loot, and I don't think it's wrong to like your character getting stronger, and I do think it would feel kind of bad to know that, like, hey, my 4-piece is only an 8% DPS increase. For this person, it's a 12% DPS increase. So until they have 4 set, I'm not going to see a single piece of tier, right? Because I have to keep trading it. So that's one potential bad play pattern that gets created by tier being tradable. That's kind of the same one that Master Looter creates. That's why if Master Looter is around, healers don't get gear, and whether or not they celebrate that or are angry about it, first off, depends on how honest they are, and second off, just depends on what kind of person they are, right? The other problem, though, is that Mythic Guild that's never run an alt run in the past, all of a sudden, if they just create some alts with, like, a pulse, and they can get those characters and carry them through normal or maybe heroic, they can double their tier income from normal and heroic raids by just doing 2 runs instead of 1, and having all of the tier tokens that drop for those alts traded to the mains. And if those tier tokens are fully tradable, if you don't already have to get tier, that means that a guild in that situation, right, some World 500, World 1000th guild that does that can probably jump up, I don't know, a couple hundred spaces in the rankings relative to guilds that don't do that, because they will be getting their tier sets several weeks ahead of where everybody else will be getting them, because they'll be able to just trade all of those tier tokens to the main characters. And for guilds like my guild runs 2 splits already. If tier's fully tradable, we're running 4 or 5 or something. We're not going to like it, but we're going to do it because it's so much power. We'd all have 4-piece on the second week, and we'd be really, really powerful as a result. But at what cost, right? I don't know. Selfishly, I'd rather not have a system that incentivized my guilds to run more than 2 splits, because splits aren't that fun. But I think a lot of guilds that have never thought about running a split before, if you offered them double the tier for doing it, a lot of them would have to think pretty seriously about it, especially the players in the guild who otherwise would not ever see any single piece of tier until those more beneficial players got their 4 set, right? It's like, well, would you rather make an alt or just not get any tier at all until 4 weeks into the patch, 5 weeks into the patch or something? So those are the questions about how the tier drops could work. Of course, there would be some guilds that would be immune to all of these incentives causing them to act weird, because they're super friends, and they would never make people trade items that were upgrades for them, and everybody would have a good time, and It would all be great, and those guilds would lose a lot of ranks to the guilds that that did the trading that made them more powerful. And for a lot of those guilds, they wouldn't care, and they'd be having a good time in the patch, and they'll be having a good time anyways. But hey, those guilds are going to have a good time anyways, so don't need to worry about them too much, right? Anyways, those are my thoughts about the tier trading. There's really a lot of tough questions to be answered here about how to trade it. So, what do you think? My opinion is just mine. I recognize that there's really strong points made on for all sorts of different ways that these could work. I believe fairly strongly in my side, but I hope I've been able to present multiple different views here, and let me know what you think in the comments below, and particularly let Blizzard know what they think, or they know what they think. Let them know what you think by going. If you just go to the Wowhead post, it'll be linked in the description. You click the View Original here, you get to the Shadowlands forums, and then if you're logged in, it should actually take you to the correct page to be able to then post the feedback about this, which I was not logged in, so that didn't work. But anyways, that place, I think they're actually reading and listening to the feedback about this kind of thing, so let them know what you think about all this. Anyways, hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.